Welcome back to One Hub Racing Season 26. We are back after our break week. Hopefully everyone had a great Mother's Day if you're in the UK. And we head to a track where the real-life drivers head to earlier on this morning. It was the Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka. Quite an interesting track, and an interesting track in terms of weather. We had a threat of rain in the real-life race, but we didn't get it. But we do have a threat of rain here tonight. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me once again is Jacob. Jack, how are you doing? And welcome back, because you missed last week, but how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Thank you for a cover of that last week. Unfortunately, these guys in One Hub, they have to they can get their gearboxes changed in the game. I can't sadly get mine actually changed in my actual car. So yeah, that was a bit unfortunate and couldn't make it back in time. But I mean, I'm here now. I'm here for it this week. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to go in Suzuka.
Yeah, it is an interesting track. Let's get a quick rundown of what the track is looking like. Timo last one here at One Hub Racing when we were in the P1 tier, and we got to keep an eye on Oshin as well. But 27 laps away our drivers, 18 corners, 8 to the left, 10 to the right. Only one DRS zone, and that's just after the Casio triangle. And the circuit length is 5.807 kilometres. The fastest race lap record was Lewis Hamilton, but it was the record is now broken by Kimi Antonelli. Only just though, so that is a race lap record. And we have got an interesting predicament with the weather on our hands, because in qualifying, it's not going to be dry. It's going to start off full wet, and it's going to go to inters, which means I think we could see maybe a mixed up grid in qualifying. What do you think?
I reckon we could definitely see that. I think this could be quite an interesting mix of how it's going to go for this evening, especially when it gets to the crossover point as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these drivers are going to sort of work their way around that in terms of the end part of qualifying. I don't think we'll see that many people go out at the start of it, but maybe they will, just to get a feel of the wet track. Yeah,
I think for some people, if I were them, go out anyway, because what happens if you bin it on your inters lap, you won't have an lap at all. And starting near the back of the grid in Suzuka is not the best idea. But if we have late safety cars, or if the strategy goes your way, or if you avoid the pile up in turn one, then maybe that can come to help you. We hardly saw any overtakes in the real life race. So hopefully the P1 drivers will be able to do overtakes, but we'll have to wait and see it, I guess. So last time out, we were at Shanghai International Circuit in China 2 weeks ago. Seems like a long time, but that's where we were. Craigie finally got his one race win that he desperately needed, in my opinion. He took the race win from Senna, which means he increased the gap to around about 20 points over them as well. They've had a little bit of an interesting rivalry going on. They I think one of them reported each other for a formation lap issue. It turned out to be no further action, but these two are starting to have a little bit of beef with each other. It'll be interesting to see how that materialises when it comes to the main race action later on. But yeah, they got a bit of history between those two now.
Yeah, things, as you said, are going to start kicking off. Obviously, with being in a championship battle between them, things are going to happen. So we'll see how it pans out going forward for these last few races of the season. Yeah, I think it's going to be. We're definitely going to have some spice within this.
Yeah, we are going to add some spice. I'm actually going to try and see, as I think the lobby is just about to ready up, but I'm going to see the actual answers they were given and questions they were asked in the media room, because they were called to the rivalries. And as I said, it did heat up quite a little bit, and for some reason the rivalries, I can't find them, or I'm just being a bit blind. There we go. So they were asked, it seems some shenanigans went down on the formation lap last time out, and they got reported. With you guys writing well on track, is this going to be a pattern going forward, or is it just a one-off situation? And Craigie said, I find it a shame that Senna feels the need to desperately dig for nothing. Penalties in the race. That was my first race when in One Hub Racing. I think it shows his desperation kicking in. So it'll be interesting to see what Senna thinks of that. And he said, it seems like everyone is blowing this up way too much. We're both in the right to report each other for things we believe is incorrect. The fight will always continue, both on track and off it. It's nothing personal. We both just want to win. And the formation lap gaps has always been an issue in One Hub Racing. One of them is just like, get over it. And one of them is just like, why is this blowing up too much? So that That is interesting, but it shows with the likes of Senna that he can report in the matter any way he likes to gain his advantage on his championship rivals, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I understand, you know, you can report stuff if you feel like it's been mistreated. If it's a bit of like a silly report, then I can understand Craiggie's point in that. But I mean, you know, you're entitled to report whatever you want to report, what you think is good, what you think is bad, if it crosses the line, that kind of thing. So with Senna doing that, you know, he's got every right to do that. But if it was for something ridiculous like, I don't know, oh, he raced me, like we're side by side with racing, and then nothing happens, and reports him for that, then I can understand Craigie's answer being like, well, why? And being desperate about that. So, you know, there's like a fine margin of it. Obviously, Senna felt the need to report it, so he did. Nothing came of it. I don't really think there's anything else to think about it.
Yeah, so, sorry, I was just chatting to my parents there. Do apologise, but we are about to get going for the main race action, and I may as well, if I can find the scene, show you the weather that we've got in store for our drivers. And look at that. It's even got standing water in the pit lane. I've been in these conditions earlier on and it was awful, but I think we could see some wet setup for these drivers. We'll go through the standings properly in just a few moments because we had to talk briefly about our two championship contenders. Of course, Casper not doing as well in the feature race, whereas Marco did. Lakitu not doing as well, so it'll be interesting to see how these go. But our first lot of drivers out there on the track is Entity, and they're going to be on the set of the full wet. You can already see them drifting the car to get it planted in the right place. In terms of surprises, who do you think's going to do well? Of course, we've seen Callum on arm take a win in the wet, even though he was looking good in the dry around Jeddah. Marco's been looking good as well. He can go around the outside in the S's in Jeddah, so I think he could do it around here as well. I think he's tonight, yeah. So who do you think is going to be your biggest surprise in terms of decent performances here tonight?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I'm going to actually say Kieran. And the only reason why I'm going to say Kieran is it comes down to the consistency kind of thing for it. You know, he doesn't like to think that he's somewhat consistent, but I think that's probably one of his better qualities in terms of this season for One Hub. He's always been up there fighting with the rest of the guys, and I get the feeling if he just, again, it's about keeping just a clean nose out of it. He's sitting quite high up in the championship already, and he hasn't won a race. He's gotten on a podium once or twice in this season so far. We're in the 8th round, so I think Kieran is one to look out for this evening. Yeah, as I say, he keeps a clean nose and he'll get a good result. And I think, again, with Suzuka being the way it is, it's quite tough to overtake. There's only one DRS zone. So, again, just about keeping a clean nose. And I think we might end up seeing him top 5, maybe even potentially on podium again this evening.
That is a good shout. I've got a very bold prediction. Well, it's not bold because I am expecting him to do well in the dry, but in the wet, maybe not. So I may not predict it, but I'll talk about that in a moment. Let's go on board with Entity, one of the first drivers out there on the circuit. Through to the start of the S's now. You really got to lift through here. He's drifting the car every which way. If you get the S's right in any conditions, it's really going to help you. 6th and 5th gear in the dry, 4th and 5th gear in the wet, 5th on the exit as he head towards Dunlop, heading towards the 2 Degners now. And in the wet, I think 6th gear will be good. And he's drifting all over the place, but sometimes drifting is sometimes the best place to gain time with these P1 drivers. Now heading towards the hairpin in towards 3rd gear. He's taking the outside line to gain entry into the right hand side curve. He doesn't look like the best planted at the moment as we now head towards Spoon curve. We've seen quite a few people go off in real life, but luckily no harm done in terms of retirements. And it almost looked like an invalidation for Entity, but he clipped the curb quite nicely. Going up the hill now towards 130R. You really need the straight line speed here to gain all the time and the momentum. And that's where I think we could see great overtakes in the wet if people decide to do lower wings. And Furious has retired from the session. Now, he is... I don't think he's got an engine penalty, as all entities lost a bit of ground in towards the Casio triangle there as he comes up, and he's dived it into the pits. Never mind. As Jonas Albrecht, he goes fastest with a 1:43.6. So that is his fastest lap time at the moment. And Lukey tops that with a 1:42.0. But expect times to go up, J. Cole.
Yeah, sadly do. And just on Furious as well, I just had a look as to what happened. He actually lost it at the exit spoon curve. So he ended up going into the barrier on the left-hand side. And that's obviously Furious's qualifying done and dusted. Most likely will be starting towards the back of the grid. Apparently his wheel disconnected. So that's what's happened with that. At the moment, though, I'm running board with Mr. Iverbrand Mike, currently on a lap. I know he is quite fond of the Japanese circuit as well. So Mike could be an interesting one for this evening.
He doesn't like the wet, though.
In the qualifying, exactly. So it just depends on how he gets on the qualifying wise. But we'll see how the Welshman does fare on, see if he can maybe keep up with his teammate for this evening, or if he will be the first driver for this evening. Who knows? Maybe Callum might say, you know what, Mike, crack on, and I'll follow your orders. But hey ho, who knows?
Yeah, he's my. I was going to go on to the biggest good surprise for me until we was board with Entity. Iverbrand Mike is going to be my biggest good surprise, and he's going to think, why, Jess? You're bad in the wet. Well, that is a kind of revenge, really, from him predicting me for the race win, and I sucked in the wet as well. So that means that he should do well in the dry anyway. But Mike goes up to the line, and it's going to be a 1:44.4. So not quite up the pace out of everybody else so far, as everyone has just started. Now, the difference between the dry and the wet qualifying is with the wet qualifying, they could do multiple laps on a set of the 4 wets or the inters. And speaking of inters, we got 3 drivers already on a set of the intermediate tyres. That's the Keto down in 14th, and then Entity and Marco. And Kieran, your biggest good surprise, Jaco, has gone top with a 1:41.5. I personally, I'm just looking at the track now, it's still a bit of standing water. I don't think it's enough for intermediate tyres, but I know on this game, the inters could be a faster tyre no matter what. So we'll see how Lakitu, Entity and Marco do on those inters now.
Yeah, and Senna and Casper are both on those inters of just running around, as well as Curry. All 3 of them are actually on laps at the moment. And Senna and Casper, well, they're sitting down in 8th and 9th, and Curry down in 11th at the moment, the last of the actual people that have put a lap time on the board. I'm just watching Casper at the moment, as I think it was Lukey that's just gone up into 3rd place, as Nick as well. Both Red Bulls and Ferraris in 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Very nicely done from all of those guys. But yeah, Senna's just made an improvement on his time of 1:43.7, so it's not too far off of the intermediate tyres, but the wets look like they are still the faster tyre for the time being. I mean, I'll have a look at what Casper's sector time is as he makes his way up towards the first set of Degner, or the first Degner, and he's 1.8 seconds up on his time, so it's definitely getting a bit drier in this qualifying session now. He's finding a lot more time, so maybe we're going to start to see this crossover point between the inters and the wets come into fruition very, very soon. Because I'm also going to check on Senna's one, because he's coming up to the end of the first at the first Degner as well, and he's a second up on his time. So yeah, I think it is definitely getting time for intermediates, and people that are in the pits at the moment, I won't be surprised if you see them chuck on the inters now.
Yeah, it sounds about right. It was roughly about that in P2, and you can see less standing water now, and you can see the times going up thick and fast. So I wonder the 2 Mercedes have played a blinder here, but they do have around 4 sets of intermediate tyres, but that's for the entirety of the weekend, not just qualifying. So they don't want to be using too much, because otherwise what happens if we get a late safety car and they have to put on a fresh set of inters? They won't have enough to last then as well. As you can see, Casper going towards the Casio triangle, he struggled a little bit, running a bit wide in one of the corners. So maybe for him, he's just still getting his tyres up to temperature, and he's got a 42.7 on the board for Casper. What about Senna, as he's got a chasing Aston Martin behind him? I'm not quite sure who it is, but Marco goes faster with a 1:39, so yeah, intermediates are quicker. Here comes Senna up to the line. Can he beat him? Nope, he cannot. What about Lakitu and Entity in P16 and 17? Entity has invalidated. Lakitu has not, so he's going to keep going. Casper, I think, will still carry on on those set of the intermediate tyres. Marco, I would expect to go even quicker as well, because he'll have multiple laps to go on those intermediate tyres. So here comes Lakita then, up the run across the line. And I wonder if they're going to take the old iRacing line like we saw Ollie Behrman do, which he does, Lakita. Good job. I've done that in qualifying, to be fair, today. And it's a 1:39.9 for Lakita there.
Yeah, both of those guys into the 1:39s. So, yeah, these times are going to start to drop now. I mean, I'm not surprised that we're starting to see times drop. What I am still surprised to see is both Mike and the Red Bulls out on the wet tyres, as well as Malvin, who's just joined in the session. And as I say that, Kieran coming into the pits. I'm assuming Alex Loff is going to follow suit. He certainly is, and Mike get into the pits. So what I was saying, completely disregard that. Just Malvin being on the set of the wet tyres is a bit surprising. And I'm sure we'll see him probably coming in the pits very soon.
It's getting to a point as well. I've noticed that when I was in the lobby earlier, where even though Mark said, yes, intermediates is the best tyre, the game is just like, no, it's not. And it's very weird. So maybe Malvin has just ignored that and pressed, like, go on recommended tyre, which is not ideal. So if I was him, go into the pits, because intermediates is probably the best tyre to be on. Right, now who else is on a run? I think Casper is just about to start his next run. Callum Unarmed is going through set, well, the S's now. We'll see how it goes. It would help if I get the lap data, right? Because I then can see the set times compared to everybody else. There we go. That's the puppy. Set to 1 is quite a long set to in the wet, and he's already 1.6 seconds quicker. But that's not even enough compared to even his is wet time, so that's not good at all for Callum. So Callum is struggling a little bit on those intermediate tyres, which is unlike him at the moment, as Entity goes fastest with a 1:39.3. Entity means business, still hasn't got a race win yet this season, and he's still looking to pick up one. We'll see if he has enough time to do some more runs before he then goes into the pits.
Yeah, we'll definitely see that. But yeah, Williams 1-2 at the moment. Marco, I'm assuming he's also going to be on another lap at the moment. And as to say that, yeah, he's almost a second up on his time again through that first sector. So he's going to probably be one of the first people into the 1:38. Lakita as well. Assuming we'll see him in there very soon. I was riding on board with Senna at the start of his last lap that he was just doing. Unfortunately, out of turn number 3, I think it was the first part of the S's, he's just absolutely spun it. So, yeah, Senna's probably going to make his way into the pits. There you go, Callum Unarmed, 1:38.6.
It's set to 2 and 3.
38s. Yeah, absolute rapid time from him. I'm assuming the Welshman is, well, I'm assuming he's probably going to gear up his ERS and go again very soon. There's a massive tank slapper out of turn 2. Yeah,
that was a shift. I think he'll probably go to the pits for that, as Marco goes fastest with a 1:37.7. So I in practice earlier that I've seen the fastest time to be in the 1:35s. That is the fastest time I've seen from these P1 drivers on the intermediate tyres. So we're still, I think, 2 seconds a lap slower than what we would expect for these guys. But again, the dry conditions are a lot different to the wet conditions around here. Craggy heading towards the hairpin now. Very nicely done from them. What I like about the hairpin is you can take different lines around here, and it's about which works for you. Some people like to take the tighter line. Some people like to drift out wide to get a better exit heading in towards spoon curb. Some people prefer even different, and some people, like me, like to have a mixture between the two. Start off a bit tighter. Oh, Craggy is struggling in this qualifying session, and it's not good for his championship chances. He has invalidated his run.
Yeah, he certainly has. So he's probably only going to have 1 lap to put a proper lap time on the board. As Ricardo goes up to P3, and I believe that was who's that? That's just gone up into higher. It was Curry going up into 7th. So both Kick Salvers making their way into the top 10. And Curry we haven't seen too much of this season, so hopefully he's on a little bit of redemption up for this race for tonight. But of course, like I was saying just before we started, it's going to be those last runs out of people to see when they're going to get their last run done, because I'm assuming everyone's going to make their way into the pits now, and probably we'll see a lot of them come out of the pits around the 3-minute, maybe 2.5-minute mark, so that they can get that very last run in qualifying. But then they're all going to be stacking on top of each other, so it's just whoever's going to get across the line before that clock hits 0, the last one across the line, I think is the one we need to keep our eye out for.
Yeah, I think the last one to cross the line will be the one to, I think, snatch the pole position time, I think. So I think with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go, we'll see the last few people to go out, as I think there's quite a few people that have backed off their runs. The one who is not is the two Red Bulls of Axelot and Kieran. We'll see what they can do. We've seen in P2 that people left their first team to run so late. They went into the pits thinking that they were going to have enough time to go out, and boom, they did not have enough time to go out, and that they started qualifying in a very low position. So maybe for some drivers, they need to look at the time. Even if they think they could go quicker, just go into the pits, because otherwise there's going to be people incredibly much faster as the track dries up and gets better, and it will just work wonders for the ones who waited, but it'll work. It won't pay difference to the ones who decided to go out a bit later. I think for the Red Bulls, it's going to be tough for them to get one final run in as that sort of goes to P2. But for everyone else, it's just plain sailing. It's now time for our pole position. I'm gonna predict either Callum or Unarmed or I'm gonna go with Craggy. Actually, no, not Craggy. Callum, that's it. I'm gonna go with Callum for pole. He's looking good in the wet in the past. 1:38.6 was his banker, and we know he's gonna leave it as late as he possibly can. So I might pick a pole. It's gonna be Callum. What about you?
Mine is going to be Marco. I mean, he's sitting in the pits at the moment. He's doing exactly what I said. He's going to wait until it gets to about the 2.5 minute mark. And we're going to see people come out of the pit, and he's probably going to be one of the last ones to cross the line. He's been notorious for it so far this season, and I reckon he's going to be doing it again this evening. Yeah, both Red Bulls. I think they've. I picked them so highly, but I just think that they might have got the timing wrong on it. I mean, Kieran has gone 1,000 faster than Axelot, so. Yeah, they're pretty close in pace with each other, but I think, yeah, they've both just gotten the timings wrong on it, and that's their qualifying done and dusted. They've just got to watch everybody else and hope that they don't try, or that they don't manage to beat them, essentially. So we'll see where they end up happening at the end of qualifying, who else makes the improvements as well. As a few guys, or I say a lot of guys now just making their way out of the pits. Senna, interestingly, hasn't, and neither is Callum and Armed. So their qualifying is now done and dusted because they're not going to be able to get around at all. Callum and Armed has actually just made his way out of the pit, so yeah, he's all done and dusted for qualifying.
Yeah, unless he cuts a corner, which you're not allowed to do. Yeah. So yeah, they underestimated it a little bit, which is very annoying. That's what caught a lot of people off guard in the P2 tier, which is why not many people were able to go faster. That's a big oof. This is a good chance for the likes of Lukey, the two Ferraris, Entity, Casper, I think could climb his way back up there. Mike, maybe, potentially as well. The drivers that you weren't expect to be up there could gain masses out of this. Ricardo as well, who's taken his engine penalty. I think he's one of 2 drivers in the P1 tier to do so. And if he could get pole on in Japan, he's going to be starting, I think, no lower than 16th, which I think for an engine penalty, that's going to be, I think, impressive. So for him, if he could get nailed this lap, that could be very good for him as well. As you can see, I think one of the Ferraris has got a tow from Ricardo, but I think it's on their outlap anyway. We're about to get into the nitty-gritty stuff of qualifying. A few drivers aren't able to make it. Some people are. As we can see, Kieran, 1:35.8. We spoke too soon, Jacob. We thought they're not going to make it in time. They decided to go out and have another go. They must have put a lot of fuel in their car.
Yeah, they must have obviously stayed on those other tyres as well. So very well done to all of those guys. And just watching on board with either been Mike making it up to the line. He's not been able to start his qualifying lap. So Mike, Karen in 14th, Callum and Arm, Senna and Curry all across the line as well. So they're all done and dusted. The last person across the line was John Solbrook. Him and Craggy were the 2 that were the last across the line, and they're both on their qualifying runs at the moment.
Craggy for pole.
We've got Ricardo in front as well, who's currently on his lap. So yeah, we'll see what they're able to do as Axelot. He's now done his lap, 1:36.0 dead for him. A few other guys. I'm just seeing who's going to be the first one across the line. It's going to be one of the McLarens. I think that is Malvin making his way up towards Casca Triangle. We'll see where he's able to do, because he's not put a lap time on the board as of yet, running very low on the ERS side as well. Malvin making his way up towards the line. Going to take the tightest route possible to the line, 1:38.9. up into P10. And as I say, a lot more people are going to start making their way across the line here, Jess.
Here comes Casper. Casper's on a run as well. Is he going to do enough? He goes into third fastest and not enough to snatch the 2 Red Bulls. I think one of the Williams is about to finish his run. Entity comes across the line. He goes fastest by 3 temps. 135.5 at 6.0. Marco goes in P2. We got the Ferraris about to finish. Lukey goes 5th. We got, I think, Kieran not able to improve. What about Craggy in P18? He's been, I think, held up by one of the kick salvers, which is not going to be ideal, but is it still going to be enough for pole? The answer to that is yes! 135.341, and he takes pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix. Advantage Craggy going into the race this evening.
Yeah, well done for Craggy. As I say, it was what was needed from him as well. So, especially with Senna being down in 12th position, that's massive for Craggy. So, yeah, him and Entity are the ones that line up on the front row. Ricardo in 3rd with Marco in 4th. Lakito in 5th with Kieran in 6th. Alex Locke just starting next to him or behind him in 7th. Jonas Albrecht in 8th. I think might be his highest qualifying position so far this season. Both the Ferraris round out the 5th row in 9th and 10th. And then all the Mercedes round out the 6th row in 11th and 12th. Very sort of disappointing for the pair of them. Callum and Arndt, Malvin, Curry, Mike, Furious, and I believe it was Jason at the very back of that grid. All not able to get their laps properly capitalised on that. Just left it a bit too late and left it. They weren't able to get the correct timings in that. So, very well done to Craggy getting himself on pole and a massive gap between him and his championship rival.
I think it's going to be the moral of the story, I think, tonight. I think it's going to be about the timing. If you get the timing right, you're going to be on for a blinder tonight. And if you got the timing wrong in qualifying, what's that going to do for the race? The race in the dry, it's going to be so hard to overtake. And unless you're really good in the wet and you can pull a blinder, like say there's a safety car, then you're pretty much screwed. You got to be like in a train throughout to gain the most time. And for certain drivers that we would expect to do well, like your Sennas, that's going to be an absolute nightmare for him. But we know we've seen him climb his way up before from near the back of the grid to the front before. So it's not in the realms of it's not impossible, I should say, for Senna, but it's going to make his life a lot harder at the moment as we head to this session. But luckily the race starts out dry. It doesn't start out wet. It gets wet right at the end of the race. But we know with safety cars, things could change that with formation laps and stuff like that. So it is going to be interesting to see who is made at the right stuff. Have they watched the P2 race? Do they have a rough idea of when the rain's going to come? Have they done a bit of practice so they know roughly when the rain's going to come? But when it's set to approximate, Jack, anything can happen. Just because it came out, the rain was enough at lap 17, 18, does it mean it's going to be enough for P1? We don't know.
Yeah, not necessarily. And obviously with it still being a mandatory 2-stop, that's going to play into the hands of people that are thinking about their strategy. So we might see a few people go on a set of mediums to start, or go 2 sets of mediums. May see someone go on a set of the hards to try and go all the way to when the rain is, and maybe just check, do like a 2-stop in the rain. Who knows? Well, I suppose only time will tell as to when people are going to pit and when they're not going to pit. I think probably the best strategy in terms of that would be to wait it out until the rain, going on a set of hards. But as you say, safety cars can happen, virtual safety cars, anything like that. So, yeah, I suppose we'll have to wait and see how that's going to go down for this evening.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. Make sure you keep it locked at One Hub Basic, because we could see some huge surprises, and we could see a lot of great things happening if they get this correct. Now, I have looked at the pre-race interviews before coming on air, and we have seen quite a lot of people did not want the rain this evening. We did see, I'm just trying to see, of course, Senna doesn't mind it, so he thinks he's going to do well in the wet conditions once it gets to the end of the race. Axelot doesn't care either way. I'm just trying to see who else from P1. Casper saying, can we have a wet race for once? Well, we are going to get a bit of rain towards the end of the race, and he's always good in the wet, so watch out for him. He's one of my predictions for top 3, even top 5 here tonight. Mike's hoping it's going to be dry. Well, it's not going to be dry, my friend. At the end, Lukey's going to is going to be dry, but. Interestingly, not everyone's comfortable with the wet conditions. So for most of them, as Nick was saying in his pre-race interview, it's about making the most of it.
Yeah, it certainly is making the most of it. So, as I say, just whoever gets the strategy right, I think they'll be the ones that end up coming out on top. My opinion, Kieran's probably one of them that I know he's done it a few times this season. I won't be at all surprised if he does it again tonight. But yeah, I think, the two Williams are the ones that are going to be tough to compete against. Same with Craggy. Those three I think are... I would like to think that they will be the top three for this evening, but someone could come out a surprise. As I say, just depends on how they play the strategy, if there's any safety cars. There's a multitude of factors that can change the outcome of this. So it's just whoever gets it right, whoever gets lucky with it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there'll be certain drivers that will be taking it conservative at the start until they maybe get to the rain period, or there might be some people that prefer the dry conditions and want to go all at it at the start and then be conservative towards the end. I know Atslot was saying that he could be aggressive. Senna just saying it is just another race for him, which is very interesting. There's some drivers that treat every race the same and do all they can to gain as many positions as they can. So it will be interesting coming up as well. Drivers' press conference. We will go for drivers' press conference, but Marco didn't respond. But I could probably guess what he's going to answer for that. And he was asked, considering it's your first season in One Hub, you seem to be selling in very well. What were your pre-season goals, and do you think you're on your way into meeting those goals? Well, we don't know what his pre-season goals because he didn't respond to the driver's press conference. But Marco definitely seems to be... I was expecting him to be higher up than where he is because he topped qualifying night. I was expecting to say he would challenge for the title, but there are certain situations where he's just not hitting the mark. I think he would have probably wanted a bit higher results than he's seen this season.
No, I agree. And like I was saying, when it was back in qualifying night, there's one thing to be fast in qualifying. There's another thing to be fast in the race. Whenever I was racing within the P1 tier, qualifying was never my strong suit and always better in the actual race itself. So, again, it's one thing to just be better in qualifying, the other thing to be better in the race. So I think, it's quite surprising, as you say, because, we've seen that he top qualified and he beat Tony's time. But at the same time, I don't know what it is. He just doesn't seem to be getting it in the races properly. Hopefully his luck turns around in these last couple of races and, can maybe throw a spanner in the works between Senna and Craggy. But again, only time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I think for some people, qualifying is their strong suit, and for some people, the race is their strong suit, and the race is where points get handed out. But in a place like Japan, we do know that qualifying is the most important. Get your predictions in the live chat if you want to tell us who you think is going to get the win for this race. I'm gonna make a prediction here. I think Craggy, I feel like, will struggle in the wet conditions. So I think I think Craggy might have a bit of a moment. But I think Craggy is a strong contender. Casper's gonna hate me that I say this, but I think as long as Casper can keep his head in the game and do well on the drives. Casper wanted the rain to happen. It is happening. I think Casper's going to win this race tonight. What's your prediction for the race win and top three?
Well, I've already said top three. I reckon it's going to be both of the Williams and Craggy. However, in the order, I think Craggy is going to get his second race win this evening.
Oh.
I think Marco second and Entity third. I think the two Williams will probably have a little swap around.
Vespertine, I think, agrees. Solu actually agreed there. Of course, I think he's helping Entity tonight, jeffing him. So, I could see why. I could see why he thinks that as well. But I think before we get to the main race action, let's go through our sponsors. Let's go starting with our first one, Next Level Racing. The prize is that people could potentially win in both tiers, but we don't know what's going to happen there with that. So keep an eye peeled on our socials. Pure Sim Gear, the winner of the most combined poles and fastest laps, will win themselves a pair of Pure Single Gear gloves or socks, the Speedster Award. Our partners Vespertine supporting our championship apparel, and also going to be providing the winner of the Go and Get Tough Award a Race the Dream t-shirt. And you need to attend all races during the season, complete all pre and post race interviews, and finish outside the top 3. So that is going to be interesting to say the least. And also the winner of the rankings will win a Pulse Premium t-shirt organised by our lovely Cam, and it's going to be an all-star race towards the end of the season before F125 comes out, so keep an eye on that. And finally, to our partners at SimGrid. Without SimGrid, we'll be using Google Forms for the rest of our lives, and that just wouldn't be good, and we'll be having spreadsheets to work outstanding. So thank you to SimGrid. Without all of our title partners and sponsors, it would not happen. And there we go, just like that. We have loaded into the lobby, and they've all had 2 minutes to get their setups into gear. So there we go. This is going to be an interesting race, and who's made of the right stuff. Will we see overtakes early on in the race? I think so. I think there'll be a few people that will be wanting to make moves early on, especially drivers that have got engine penalties or drivers who have not had the best of qualifyings.
Indeed. And like you say, I think we'll see after the formation lap with 29 laps who will be the one that comes out on top, who will get the strategy right, who will get, I suppose, that shed of luck that I was talking about, and who will sort of fall through the field and end up sort of crumbling. I'm sure if we see any sort of broken front wings, then most likely retirements will arise in the pit lane. But hopefully none of that happens and we finish with everybody on the grid for this evening. I think it's 18 drivers, so hopefully we'll see all 18 of them finish for this evening.
Yes, I hope so. We saw in the real life race, didn't we? We saw all 20 cars finish the race, which was a miracle. I lost points because of that, because I predicted there was going to be a few retirements, and that didn't work. So I lost points in my F1 predict, which is a bit frustrating. But there you go, you win some and you lose some. I think we're going to see at least one safety car. I think. I doubt we're going to get away with safety cars, but it took a while to get the first safety car in P2. I think my prediction is we're going to see the first safety car for when the rain comes. And we know if we get a safety car just for the rain, people will just come in for a set of inters and then chance it a little bit. So that is going to be interesting. Now, in terms of strategy, the best tyre, I think, is going to be on mediums. But the question is, what tyre would you go on to next? Would you go on to a set of the hards? Or would you go on to a second set of mediums? Again, it does depend on when the rain comes. And when it's set to approximate, it could be anyone's game. And we are about to go racing with the formation lap on. So here we go then. And we'll go through our tyre strategy with quite a bit of it's pretty much unsurprisingly for what majority of people have gone for, but surprised to see 2 drivers have gone for maybe possible blinders. We got Senna on the soft compounder tyres, and we got Jason on the hards. We did see someone in the P2 tier do that, and it worked dividends until unfortunately they got a drive through. I'm not surprised to see Senna on the softs. He wants to gain quite a bit of places, but the softs, I did it on practice on Thursday. The softs don't last long at all. If I were you, do not go on the soft to start the race. It will just go away after 3 laps. Senna's just got to make move after move if he wants to make that work.
I was going to say the softs usually only last around 5 laps around Suzuka, so yeah, I expect Senna to maybe move up a couple places, but as soon as he gets past the first 5 laps, I expect him to start struggling to try and make any more moves on the guys out in front. But yeah, as you say, I can see why he's gone on the set of softs. He just wants to move his way up on the field. Completely understandable. Jason, like I was saying, he might try and do the strategy I was saying, wait until the rain on those hard tyres, and then go for 2 sets of wet tyres maybe, or intermediate, shall I say. Just depends on when the rain does arrive. If not, he might go for a set of the hards, and then when it gets a bit closer to the time of rain, go for a set of softs, and then keep them on until the rainy point, in which case you can then change the tires at that point. So yeah, I think a few guys, will see how they're going to end up faring. I think there's still going to be a variety of strategies, even though everyone's pretty much on the mediums. I still think we're going to see a variety of strategies go down for this evening. But everyone is now just lining up their way onto the grid, and we're seeing a few guys are having a few ballerina lessons on the grid.
Craggy pointing towards, I would say, Marco to try and block him. Marco not pointing straight on. Now that is going to be interesting. Now I was not expecting people to do donuts to get their tyres into temperature, but Jack, we're about to go racing. I'll hand it over to you to take us through the start.
As you say, Craggy pointing straight off to the left-hand side, wants to cover off Marco as quick as possible. So we'll see if he's able to do that. We are now going to have the 5 red lights make their way on to round number 8 in Suzuka, 4-1 hub racing. We are away, and Craggy getting a very good start. A little bit of wheel spin off at the start as well, though. Lakitu having the best start of the 3 of them, going around the outside of Marco, going down in towards turn number 1, and doesn't manage to get the move done. Marco does stay up ahead of Lakitu. Jonas Albrecht is moving his way up into P5. They're 3 wide almost going through turn number 3, though, and Axelok jumps back up ahead of Lukey and Jonas Albrecht. Jonas Albrecht jumping down into 7th position. Casper moving his way up into 8th as well as Ricardo. All the way at the back of the grid now has had a spin out of turn number 2. I think that is very unfortunate for the kick Sauber. But yes, everybody making their way, other than Ricardo, really sort of cleanly through. Senna has unfortunately lost a position off of the start of the race. And Jason has made up a couple of positions at the start as well. Entity dropping down into 50th position as there's a spin. That is Curry and Jason and Furious all off of the road. Have somehow managed to hit each other as Nick and Senna both side by side. Furious is retired from the session, and we've got a virtual safety car. Did Furious do that? It didn't look like he had actually crashed. So
I wonder if it's his wheel. I wonder if it was his wheel, Jack, because he said in the chat, in our Discord chat, that he was having problems with his wheel. So I wonder if it was that. If he could prove that it wasn't on purpose, if it was just a wheel issue, then it'll be absolutely gutting. But the virtual safety car just neutralises the field ever so slightly, but it gives us a chance just to cool down a bit and look at what went down on lap 1. Lukey and Casper gained the most out of it, so is Callum. Biggest losers definitely got to be the likes of the 2 Saubers, and obviously Senna dropped down a position, Nick dropped down 2 places, so is Jonas. So those were the ones who lost all that place. As we're seeing Senna making the most of it, quite a few people are going in early for a set of the hards, I would say. The hards can last quite a bit long around here, so I don't blame them, to be honest. Oh, Senna's going for mediums. Now that is interesting. That is a strategy I wouldn't go for, but fair play if it makes it work. Jonas Albrecht goes on to a set of the hard compound of tyres, and Jason, I think he's got no choice. He has to go on to the mediums, and he has to serve his 10-second penalty, which is not ideal, but at least a VSC, so he's going to lose less time if it was under. And things could not get any worse between the 2 in the Saubers. One of them has got a drive-free penalty, as we could see Craggy pulling away there. Lakitu almost getting past Marco there into the walls of Degners.
Yeah, he certainly has, and Nick has just been passed by Malvin. Malvin also eyeing up a move on Callum and Anders. There was a dive there from, I believe that was Casper on Lukey. Absolutely sent it, did the fin, and Lukey just switching it back on him, getting that position back up into 6th position. Craggy, though, already almost dropping up 1 second up ahead of Marco, and Lakitu all over the back of Marco's tail as well. So, yeah, they're all sort of following suit at the moment, as to be expected. Axelok dropping out of the DRS from his teammate, though, so Kieran, I don't know if he's going to try and get a move on and try and catch up to Lakitu, if he's going to try and drop back slightly so that he can get his teammate back in the DRS. But Casper is eyeing up again another move on Lukey going in towards the Castro Triangle, but not going to look for anything at the current moment, so he's just happy to stay behind him for now. But yeah, Curry unfortunately getting himself a drive-through penalty, so he's going to have to serve that relatively soon. Senna, I'll be honest with you, I think has made a big mistake of going on a set of mediums. Maybe he's expecting there to not be any rain whatsoever.
Casper's at a moment, turn 1, he'd had a bit of a side, he caught the curb, and that was not ideal at all for him, and he's dropped down into 8th. Now, my call for the win is just not working wonders, and I know Casper's going to be furious at me at DMs later. But yeah, Casper's dropped down into 8th place, not ideal for him, which has allowed Callum to gain a place up into 7th spot. Curry has obviously picked up a penalty, but Yeah, things have all changed in terms of the order so far. The Red Bulls, I have to say, are the ones that are surprising me. You did say your biggest good surprise was Kieran. He's up in 4th place, and he's closing in on the likes of Craggy, Marco, and Lakita, and we do know Kieran is not too bad on the set of the intermediate side, so this could be proving wonders for him as long as he can keep up with that. Everybody else is out of DRS between these front 4, so I think it's really going to be between these front 4 to pretty much work together here, make sure no one can try and get past. I'm sure Kieran will want to try and bring his teammate home and host at the moment. Callum on arm is trying to get past Lukey. There's actually 2 DRS trains going on. You want to be in a DRS train because otherwise you're going to lose time. Ricardo and Senna, they're pretty much screwed at this point. As we could see, Lukey almost trying to get past in the Casio triangle, couldn't quite make it work. Callum on arm had a really bad exit going through the Casio triangle. We're seeing fastest laps galore from all of our, well, quite a lot of our drivers at the moment. They all head towards T1 where we could see the overtake. Lukey, if I was him, I would try and go for the move here. Callum trying to follow through to the inside, but couldn't quite make it work. But Lukey up into 5th. He's now got to try and close it in on the front 4, which is going to be a really hard task for him right now. But Lukey, what a move. I think it's going to be a switcheroo between these guys for DRS now.
Yeah, he needed to get that move done, and he did get it done. So nicely done to Lukey, up to 5th. Now has got about a 2-second buffer to try and catch up to Kieran out in front of him. Going to be a bit of a tall order for him, especially with all the other guys behind him. And if he does a mistake like that of going wide out of the first Degner, so yeah, he could be a bit of trouble here. As that's I think almost iron up a move on Lukey going towards the hairpin, but not going to look for anything there. Yeah, Kieran, massive tank slapper, and has actually left the session. So Kieran now out of the session. Needs an invite as soon as possible. See if I can get him back into the session quick time. I think I might have him added, but yeah, I'm very unfortunate for him disconnecting there. Hopefully he's back in soon. Hopefully he doesn't lose too much time, because if he ends up going towards the back end of the train behind him, then that's going to cause him some problems later on.
Good advantage for Lukey.
Yeah, it certainly is. But Casper eyeing up a move on Callum and Arm going through 130R. Callum and Arm's having to use a lot of his ERS to do this, but not going to be able to do anything now. The Finn, is he going to try and go for a move on the Welshman? No, he's not. In fact, Callum and Arm slightly taps the back of Axelog. And it's almost a little Constantino effect happening there just with Malvin as well as Casper. But here we go. DRS now wide open for all these guys. Axelog gets the move done on Lukey. Casper gets the move done on Callum and Arm. Malvin's going to follow on Callum and Arm as well. They're both side by side going through turn number 1 and turn number 2. Callum and Arm on the Welshman's going to have the inside for turn 3, but Malvin's already got the move done up into 8th position. Unfortunately for Callum, he loses out 2 positions on that main DRS straight. It's only the 1 DRS zone as well, so very unfortunate for Callum. He did use up a lot of his ERS, and well, it showed there as he has a massive tank slapper at the top of the Dunlop curve. Cool entity off guard. And Nick and now trying to see if he can go around the outside of him, going into the first Digna, and not going to be able to go for any sort of move. Very well held from Callum, but wow, he is losing out a lot of time, already struggling on these medium tyres.
Yeah, and always a bit of a tank slapper, love tap from Entity, which is going to allow the likes of Nick and look at Mike on the inside of Nick as well. Heads past the hairpin. Let's see what he could do as they head towards Spoon Curve as Mike trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work out. Unfortunately, he's going to stick behind for now, but this is not working well for Callum at all. This is bringing more people into the mix with this DRS train. And you can see, Entity's going to try and go for a move towards 130R. It would be amazing if he could get that working, but he's not going to go for a move towards 130R because that would not work wonders. And there was a bit of a tank slapper from Craigie, a bad exit on the final corner. This is going to allow Lakita to really gain some ground on this, but Craggy is no harm done. He wants to take the lead anyway. Around the outside of Marco into the race lead. Lukey around down the inside of Atslot goes through into 5th spot. He's going to now chase down Kieran for 4th, and Lukey's having a really decent race so far, and so is Atslot as well. Imagine what it could have been. Obviously, Kieran didn't disconnect. Maybe they would have tried and closed in a little bit more on the DRS train, but again, the rain, that can change everything. It doesn't matter where you are now. If you get the strategy wrong when it comes to the rain, that could undo a lot of your work. So I think a lot of people want to try and gain those positions as much as they can before the rain comes. Craggy two tenths between him and Marco. Lakita another 3 tenths back. Now we've got Kieran that's 2.1 seconds back. And we got the likes of pretty much from Lukey downwards all the way to Mike, who are in this long train. And if one driver makes a mistake out of this train, that could change a lot in terms of this race order.
Yeah, no, it certainly will. And Kieran managed to get himself back in a session and didn't actually manage to fall in the clutches of Lukey for that. So, yeah, I think he's going to be quite relieved that he's not gone towards the back of the train and that he's managed to get himself back in pretty quickly. As his teammate, speaking of, iron up a move on Lukey for P5 in towards the triangle. Not going to look for anything at the moment, but going to try and get the best exit he possibly can. I think he probably took a bit too much go, but saying that, he definitely got a better exit than Lukey. Axelot going to go for the move with DRS now wide open. Gets the move done on Lukey, up in the 5th position. Is Malvern and Casper going to follow suit? Casper does. Gets double overtake, goes to 5th.
Whoa.
Up into 5th position. Didn't even see him flying up there, but yeah, gets the move done on both Axelot and Lukey. Now up in the 5th. Lukey now, unfortunately, down in the 7th position. Very well worked from Casper.
That was probably one of the moves of the season so far. I was not expecting that from Casper to do like a double overtake. Wow. That was amazing. Well calculated as well. You could see the likes of Axelot and Lukey struggling, and it was like, you know what? I'm going to make my way through, past 2 drivers, not just one. So, well done. And I'm sure he's going to be absolutely delighted with himself. But his main focus now, try and close in on Kieran. We've seen him and Kieran fight with each other before, and it's worked out well for Casper. So we'll see if Kieran can hold his own right now. Despite him disconnecting, his pace is not that bad. It's a shame that he's dropped a bit back to Lakita, but I don't think he's lost any position. So he's really lucky to have not lost positions. But I think there's other drivers that are thinking that they could have gone in that DRS train as well. So I wonder, will we see some more brave moves being made at the moment? I think we could see some brave moves like Casper, maybe from Malvin as well. Malvin is known to make moves and it doesn't work. So Malvin has got to be calculated like Casper. We'll see if they make their way towards the final corner now. Starting lap 8 of 27. Marco takes the lead. As we're saying, everyone taking the tightest line possible. We've got Axelot trying to get past Casper to no avail. Casper's defending like crazy at the moment as Lukey trying to go around the outside into the S's, and that's not going to work out for him either, so he stays behind Malvin. I think all of them are just staying cautious right now because it's going to get to a point where it's going to be the pit window opening. Will we see drivers come into the pit for a set of the mediums compounded tyres or the hard compounded tyres? We don't know which one they're going to go for. It depends on their personal preference.
Certainly will, and there is one driver into the pits. Curry has made his way into the pits. I think that's it looks like he's serving a penalty of some sort, and going on a set of the hard compounded tyres. So he's going to be going on that until the rain does come eventually. But yeah, like you're saying, I reckon we'll probably see a few people try and go for another set of mediums very, very soon. It's just who's going to pull the plug first and who's going to try and go for that undercut. However, if you try and go for the undercut, it could still be a bit of a struggle because you're not going to be in that DRS train. Granted, there is no DRS throughout the rest of the lap other than on the start-finish straight, so might get slightly lucky with that. But I think I suppose it's just a time will tell who's going to be the one to pull the trigger first.
Craggy's pulled the trigger first, just as we were saying it. So Craggy on lap 9 and 27 is coming into the pit. Casper following suit. Malvin, Mike going in. We're seeing Craggy on medium, so is Casper. What is Mike going to do? Ricardo going to try and do something as well. Malvin going on to a set of the hard compound tyres. I think the majority of people that have came in have opted for the mediums, which seems pretty smart if they read what happened in P2s here earlier on as well. But the mediums are going to die ever so slightly as we head towards the middle half of the race. So do watch out. This is going to get very, very interesting. Meanwhile, Marco still leads, and Lakita, of course, had to stay out because otherwise you will lose so much time by double stacking. So I would expect Lakita to come into the pits at the end of this lap. Marco, I would expect to do the same. I wonder what the two Red Bulls are going to do. If you were in that situation, I would suggest maybe the one who is ahead has pit priority in terms of they get to choose on if they want to pit this lap or next lap, and they got the gap to do so. So the Axelot will have the notification. So if he knows that he can see Kira make his way through to the pits, then he could do something different. You never know. So I think Lakita's going to come in right now, I think. I will not be surprised, because otherwise you're going to lose so much time. I pitted a lap later earlier on, and I lost like 2 or 3 seconds. The undercut is just so powerful around here, as Lakita and Marco, understandably, comes in. Kieran does the same. I saw quite a lot of people were caught off guard there. They were dummying each other. Axel understandably stays out, because again, you don't want to get caught with the double stack. NC stays out as well, again, understandably. I'm a bit surprised, J. Cole, that none of the Ferraris have gone out.
I was just looking at that as well. I'm surprised one of the Ferraris didn't end up coming into the pits. They're now going to basically be tripping over each other. Jonas Albrecht has retired from the session at the final corner. Is that going to be a safety car for a lot of them? He's literally has retired at the exit of the pit, or the entrance of the pit lane.
No safety car. It was off the racing line. What? I think if you were the top 4, you would be praying for a safety car. And you saw that yellow flag, and it was just like, please come to fruition. It never happened. So they're going to be absolutely furious right now. But sometimes you got to take the risk. And by the way, Craggy's already closing in by a second or 2 per lap. So these top 4 need to get a move on.
Yeah, they certainly do. Marco, interestingly, going on a set of hard tyres to the rain, but it already looks like there are some grey skies looming around Suzuka. So I don't know if that was a smart option for Marco. Again, only time to tell. I suppose we can only
it is overcast now.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see how it goes on with that. But yeah, top 4 all still yet to make a pit stop. Everybody else within the grid has made a pit stop. So I'm assuming we'll be seeing at least 3 of these guys in at the end of this lap, just riding on board with Axelok. Yeah, he makes his way in. Lukey comes in, as well as NC. Nick, of course, staying out, not double stacking with his teammates.
Lukey!
And Lukey, you silly sausage, speeding into the pit lane.
You are a silly sausage, Lukey. I've told you not speeding the pit lane, and guess what you've done? You spent the pit lane. Oh, this is going to cost him when we get to the intermediates later on. So that's going to be very, very annoying. Craggy has pulled a blinder. The undercut, he's gained about a second or 2. And it's similar to what happened in my race as well. If you pit a lap later, you just lose all that momentum, so you've got to work well for that undercut if you have similar pace, and that is exactly what Craggy's done, and now he's ahead of his teammate Marco. Something must have gone wrong with his pit stop, because he's dropped down into the net 3rd, where he was 2nd, so not the best pit stops for Marco.
It's the same with Axelok as well, because he was ahead of Lukey going into the pits. I don't know if Lukey ended up going past Axelok into the pits when he got this drive-through, but Lukey's now up ahead of him and split between him and Malvin.
Oh, look at Axelok round the outside.
As they said, talking about him, yeah.
Down the inside,
in towards the hairpin and gets the move done. So nicely done from Axelok. So, yeah, now just only 8 tenths separating both Lukey and Axelok. I think, I don't know if Axelok had a bad pit stop or what, but he is now 8 tenths behind Lukey. Lukey needs to try and get a bit of a move on. 2 seconds behind Callum and Armed. He needs to try and gain up on that DRS train as Nick now finally makes his way into the pits.
Yeah, Nick, one of the last drivers to come in, and I can explain for Axelok why he had a bad pit stop, because this is the same thing that happened to me with all my pit stops. Because you got to slow down, and with the pit limiter, as soon as you got to look at the speed limit to see where you're hitting it, and then as soon as it goes green, then you got to press the button to pretty much go into your pit box, and it's just instant if you're in the Red Bull. And that's probably why he might have missed it, he might have forgot, and he's just like, whatever. And he lost quite a bit of time from it. And if you're late, you lose about a second, which is not ideal. So I think that's probably what Axelok has done. Not sure about other people that lost time in the pits. We'll have to wait and see as it goes on. Well, lap 12 or 27. If you haven't already, make sure you give this stream a like. Hit the follow button if you're on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. And also follow us on Twitter at OneHub Racing, at Instagram at OneHub Racing. Craggy leads from the Keto as I've been Mike trying to go around the outside of the hairpin, and he's up into 9th place. He's going to try and close in now on Axelok. Now that will be a turn in the history books at the moment, as we can see NT trying to go around Malvin, which he does up into 10th spot. Oh, as Malvin, oh, it's a bit of a lap tap. You do not want to be doing that. This is going to cost you a lot of time. It's not going to help Nick either as we head towards 130R for the 12th time. Please don't make it free wide, boys. We've seen free wide in 130R just does not work at all. And luckily, it is not free wide as they have to be really tight late on the braces towards the Casio Triangle. NC is just ahead.
Yeah, very nicely worked from Entity on that. Mike also all over the back of Axelot now. So Mike on a little bit of a charge around Suzuka up into 9th position. Hopefully we do not see his alter ego of either Spin Mike, but he's doing quite well so far, I've got to say. And Kieran also doing relatively well. He's only 0.3 of a second off of a podium. Marco on those hards is really not making any inroads. Of course, when it gets a little bit later on, as long as there's no rain, then he's, he'll be laughing. He'll be, be happy he made that strategy. But he needs to hope that the rain doesn't come until like lap 23, lap 24 at the very latest, or the very earliest, shall I say, to make those hard tyres work.
Yes.
So yeah, again, I don't know if Marco's made the right call. Again, only time will tell and see what he can do. But at the moment, Craggy and Lakitu, Aston Martin's completely controlling this race.
Yeah, the Aston Martin, I have to say, I do believe they are leading the constructors still. If they could keep this up, then they'll probably hold on to the lead of the constructors by quite some way. Both constructors in both tiers are literally just running away with it. I think we could see in both tiers the constructors fight being decided, I think, with a few races to go, which will be amazing, not gonna lie, considering how well Craggy and Lakitu have done this season in terms of scoring points. As we can see, Kieran trying to go the iRacing line in towards turn number 1, gets past a marker up to 3rd. Callum Arms does the same on Casper, up into 5th. Almost a bit of a drift there from Kieran, as we can see now. Mike closing in on Axelot, but he stayed behind Axelot for now. Nick doing exactly the same. So the DRS train is still forming once again, and from Lukey downwards, and it's just a shame that Axelot lost a bit of time, but he's getting a little bit as we head through the S's now, so it might mean he was saving a little bit over those last few laps. We never know. I'm interested to see how this mid-pack deal with all of this, because if one person makes a small mistake, it could bring out a safety car, and we could see some bold strategies being made.
Yeah, it certainly could. So, like you say, we'll see how it does end up going down. Callum Arms, he's actually still starting to catch up to Marco a bit. Marco dropping down 0.6 of a second behind Kieran after just getting passed on that DRS straight. So, yeah, Callum's going to try and make a bit of inroads. He's not making as many inroads as what Kieran was on Marco, but yeah, he's not doing a bad job whatsoever. As Casper, a little bit of a slide out of the exit spoon. Yeah, Lukey, he's also just, he's quite content of where he's at the moment. Only problem is that 10-second penalty to serve in the pit. So he's definitely going to have to serve that in this race. He won't be able to get that removed or anything like that. So yeah, he's going to have a bit of a struggle come later on in the race. Unless the safety car comes out, might save him. It will definitely hurt Nick, because I'm sure Nick will probably end up hitting at the same time and have to wait 10 seconds for his teammate, as well as like another extra 5 seconds to do that. And speaking of Nick, he gets the move done on Ivory Mike up into 9th position. So Mike down into 10th. And yeah, very unfortunate for Mike, but yeah, very nice done from Nick to work that one. Entity and Malvin have their own little battle as well on those hards, going through turns 3 and 4 at the moment. I thought Entity would have made up a few more positions, but again, doing the same thing as his teammate, going on a set of the hards. Maybe the Williams know something that we don't.
Yeah, I think the rain just doesn't seem to be coming. Again, we do not know what Mark has been telling all the drivers, and they'll be probably spamming weather report every 5 seconds just to find out what's going on. But everyone seems to be keeping it calm so far, and quite a lot of them are all so close. And I think it's just going to be one driver making the gamble. I think if I was Nick, I would take the gamble, because otherwise, if you pit the same lap as Lukey, you're going to lose that 10 seconds. So Nick's got to play the gamble. Some people might have to self-sacrifice and maybe pit a lap earlier to help their teammate, or even a lap later. But again, you may lose out time to the double stack anyway. So for some people, maybe the double stack is worth it, as long as you don't have a 10-second penalty like Lukey is right now in 7 spots. So we'll see what happens. I would expect the rain to come soon, but it's not. Again, of course, we've got no safety car at the moment. We could get some as we head towards the latter stage of the race, as Axelot does get past Lukey towards center one. Jay is out of the race. Oh. Safety car, there we go.
As you were just saying it.
Yeah, as I was just saying it, I think we're going to see some bold strategy. I won't be surprised if people pit for inters right now. I know it's not wet enough, but look what happened in P2. People thought it wasn't going to be raining in time the safety car comes in. The safety car comes in, boom, drops with rain, and the inters were suddenly quicker. So if I were you, box.
Well, Senna has come in. And he's chucked on a fresh set of mediums.
So, Senna! I think he forgot to change his tyres.
I don't think he has. I think he's expecting it to not rain. And I think we're going to see a few more people make their way in to do this. Curry being another one. He's coming into the pits now. He's going on a set of the soft tyres, interestingly enough. So,
if we don't get any rain, that's the game in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Because Lukey set it to rain at the end of the race.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't happen,
we'll see.
Which is good if you're the likes of Mike, who likes the dry conditions. It's not good though if you expect the rain to come. So I would chance it going to a set of inters as Craggy comes in, the key to Kieran, everyone's coming in, and I'm not surprised. Oh, Hards. Maybe it's not going to rain at all. Game? Hello?
Maybe it's not. Maybe it is not. The key to is, I don't know, it just showed that he's a bit stuck. Mike is the only one that has not pitted, so he's stayed out.
Mike!
And he's deciding to be the leader of the safety car at this moment.
I think he thinks he's not gonna win the race anyway, so he's just like, you know what, have a bit of fun.
Most likely. No, Mike, most likely.
Yeah, no, Mike. So I think that if it's not gonna rain, that strongly means that the ones who did 2 medium stints has worked out well, because that's what I think most people would have done if it was dry anyway, which explains why most people opted for the mediums. If anyone who's engineering is in the Twitch chat, could you find out a bit of intel for me, please? Could you find out if it's actually going to rain at all or not? Because if it's not, it's going to spoil, I think, quite a bit, because I was expecting quite a bit to happen. And it's not going to be good news for the ones who want the rain, like Casper as well. So that's going to be a bit frustrating. Or maybe the rain's not going to come until right at the end. So the ones in the chat, if you're out engineering someone, please give us some intel as to when the rain's going to come, if not at all. So there we go. It is going to be interesting, but Mike is going to probably do his Paris impression and try and hold everyone up. Craggy, I think Craggy's definitely favourite to win this race now. I don't think Marco's memes are going to last that long. I think it's going to be between Craggy and Lakita for the race win. I think the Aston Martins have got this in the bag if it stays like this.
Certainly could, and I've just had a thought about why Mike has decided to stay out. And this could be massive for
Malvin says rain in 5 minutes.
I was about to say, he is hoping that there's going to be some rain that arrives. And I think that's the reason why he stayed out. He's going to try and gamble that there is rain coming. And as I say, that he comes into the pits, so completely ignore what I've said. Craggy's coming into the pits with
I think he's realised. I think he's realised as well, which is, that's why I'm a bit. That's why I like one-hand racing. Oh, Craggy enters, Mike enters. We've seen in P2 the ones who pitted for inters during the safety car, they climbed their way through the field. Whoa!
Oh, wow.
And Lukey's gone on Loki! They've gone on soft, so I don't think that's the right decision.
I don't know.
I think the only people that know are the drivers, and even the drivers don't know. And I don't think it's brightening up. If I'm not imagining things.
I don't think it is brightening up. In fact, it's looking like it's getting greyer.
It's hard to tell. Luckily, we're in the commentary box. Luckily, we didn't have this in our race where we thought the rain was going to come, but it wasn't. Because I would have been clueless on what's going to happen. So fasten your seatbelts, everybody. Because the engineers don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Safety car fit's going to come in this lap unless Curry... I think, unfortunately, the stuff that worked in P2 is not going to work out in P1 because the rain is showing no signs of happening. It's not even raining at all at the moment. So unless the rain comes in 130R, I think the ones on who pitted for Inters, it's not going to work out for them because Curry's already catching up to the back of the queue.
Yeah, I'm assuming safety car will probably be in at the end of this lap. Curry is just catching up to him right about now. It'd be
it'll be a late one, I think, if that's the case. I'm just looking at the light. Oh, no, but it's staying out. Oh, yeah, what? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
Right, so the ones who pitted, Craggy has messed up, so has Ivan Mike. Everybody else, it's game on. As Lakitu has got to think about when to go now. And I think Kieran, this is going to help him massively as they all make their way towards T1. Which line are they going to take? I think Kieran's going to try and go the long way round. Doesn't quite do so. Casper trying to go around the outside of Kalamanam. They've been fighting a lot in China, and they're going to fight a lot here as well. Casper up into 4th place, and the ones on the intermediate tyres, they're dropping like a stone right now. That strategy has not worked wonders if you're on the Inters, as Entity has lost ground massively. He's down to 11th.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Entity, but yeah, a lot was going on behind all of them as well. Marco going on a set of mediums. I thought he was a bit silly for going on the hards, but I think he might have actually played the strategy blinder.
I think he has.
So we'll see. But Lakitu got away very nicely. Kieran has a massive tank slapper in the hairpin. Casper's trying to dive up the inside of Marco. Now going to be left vulnerable with Kalamanam. There's a few position changes going on behind. Is Entity going, Entity and Lukey both side by side of each other. I think Lukey tried going up the inside of Entity into that hairpin. But yeah, Kieran, I think, broke just a bit too hard. Rear locking just happened, and Marco almost going at the back of him and almost losing out of position to Casper. Malvern all over the back of Kalamanam as well. I don't think he's going to be able to go for any sort of move at this current moment. But yeah, very unfortunate for both Craggy and for Ivan Bryn White. They've got to hope that this rain is coming as soon as possible. Kalamanam now trying to defend that position of Casper. Fourth position, keeps that place, does the Welshman. And yeah, he's now going to have a bit of pressure from those guys behind of Casper and of Malvin. There goes Casper. Malvin's going to try and follow suit. He's going to try and make it free wide, going down into turn one. This is Malvin backs off of that one, but Casper gets the move done on the Welshman. And Kalamanam now down into 5th, Casper up into 4th. Needs to try and gain back up to those top 3 though.
He's got to. He's lost DRS. He's lost DRS to the likes of Marco and Kieran, and Marco would probably have played a strategy blinder. He's absolutely nailing it at the moment on those sets of the medium tyre. He's trying and get past Kieran. So we've got Lakitu that's leading. He hasn't won. I don't think he's won a feature race. He's won a sprint race, but he's not won a feature race. This could be the chance where he could do so at the moment. I'm trying to go on board to see if we have any glimpses of rain, but we're not. I think both the intermediate runners are going to hate this. I don't think we're going to see any rain. And that's the beauty of approximate for you.
Yeah, and I think we will, to be honest with you, as a bit of wheel banging going on. Axelock and Senna both side by side of each other going into the spoon. Senna goes and forces his way through that one, and Axelock now down into 9th. Nick was also a little bit involved with all of that going on. I think he tapped the back of Malvin, and now here goes Senna around the outside of Nick as they make their way in towards 130R. Nick Senna back of that one. Senna back up into 7th position. He's made his way pretty nicely through the field now as well. And we're now into one big DRS train all the way down to Entity at the back of that as Lukey picks up a 3-second time penalty, as well as picking up the 10-second stop and go. He is now down in 10th. And yeah, Kieran gets the move done on the K2. Marco
raining! It's raining!
Gets the move done. And there's the rain. So we'll see. Is it going to be landing fast enough for both Craigie and Mike to make their way back up. There's
but their tyres are going to be so burnt. They're going to be so worn. It's going to be so hot as well. So even if they're going to be ahead, I don't think they're going to gain that much. I think the ones like Kieran, they're just going to probably overtake them anyway.
Maybe they'll stay out. Maybe they'll try and risk it with there being little laps left to go. They may risk staying out on the dry tyres. It just depends on how much or how wet it gets for them. As Nikitu has a bit of a tank slapper. He's already struggling on these tyres.
Yep, Casper, bring on Casper. Casper loves these wets, loves these inters. So if we know that Casper is not struggling, we know that it's going to be the intermediate tyres time. You could tell. Oh no! Oh my goodness, Casper, that was a save. That was similar to what I did in my race where I was struggling to get the car. And look at this, Craggy's already gained on Ricciardo in 13th, so this could work out well for him. Mike, maybe not so much, but you never know. As Casper to the inside of... Actually, no, he was ahead anyway of Callum Alarms. Never mind. So what are the drivers going to do? Nikita's in. Nikita's in. He has the benefit of his teammate already on the inter, so he could see if it's the right time. And here comes Marco up the inside of Kieran up into second place.
Yeah, Kieran is probably absolutely screaming that he hopes that DRS stays on for at least one more lap. But the way that it's going at the moment, I think we're going to start to see some intermediates be a bit better than the rest of them. Ricciardo, Entity, Lakitu all into the pits to chuck on a set of the intermediate tyres. Curry's gone off on the track as well.
Can we see a safety car?
Yeses. So he hasn't actually binned it or anything. He's just gone off of the circuit. He is still carrying on, but that's now allowed Craggy to get through. And these guys are all struggling on their dry tyres. Craggy, I'm trying to keep an eye on the times between them as Casper is into the wall out of the exit of the Hegner 2. So Casper's now down into ninth position. Has a bit of
it's inters. It's inters, Jacob. It's inters. It definitely looks like it's inters because I think looking at the hairpin, there's lots of drops of rain falling. It is definitely the intermediate tyres. And the ones who are not on inters, they are struggling, but the ones who's just pitted, they pulled a blinder. Entity could be on for a podium, so could Lakitu. I think we could still see an Aston Martin 1-2 here because they're so brilliant in the wet conditions. I think my call. I know it was Casper that I called for the race win. I didn't even say a top three, but you can see the Casio triangle, which is so tricky, so treacherous. Marco, what on earth are you doing? He's staying out. And, Marco, what has happened in the pit lane between Callum and Arndt, I do not know. But a lot of people will have to double stack. Kieran comes out. That was a good pit stop from Kieran, actually. A lot better. Casper gets a 3-second time penalty. Lukey stays out. And the ones... I'm just trying to see who come out ahead. Casper's out the race. Are we going to get a safety car? Nope, he just retires in the pits. What a shame, because he was looking like he was going to be the best in these wet conditions. But there we go. That's your order. Craggy is your net race leader. And Mike is in second.
He's going to pull out a podium. He's got 5 more laps, and he has pulled off an absolute strategy pass for the podium.
Just don't bin it. Right.
I can't believe it.
I'm never... the reason why I'm like that crazy, because Mike likes his circuit, right? And, Craigy's at the moment going through the hairpin. I think everyone's going to struggle, to be fair. Because I always like to see a fellow commentator do well. But with Kieran, he's closing up quite massively. DRS disabled, by the way.
I don't understand why Marco didn't pit. I really don't. He should have pit on that last lap.
He's going to drop way down.
Yeah, he's going to lose a multitude of places.
Mike's in the net race lead.
Oh, so Craggy's had a massive moment through the sprint curve. Mike is now on net race leader.
Oh, no, I thought Kieran had a massive moment, but it was only because Craggy had a moment. Mike's in the net race. What? What are we watching?
No, this is not happening, Jess. This is not happening.
Oh my God.
Either Spin Mike is leading in a P1 race, and he's actually the net race leader.
I don't get to call the winning lap, you do. Oh, you
well.
Your probably face is smug. To be fair, it's going to be a tall order for Mike to hold on to this because we know how everyone else is on the wet tyres. He just got to defend for his life for these last few. He's struggling in the S's. As much as I want him to win, I don't think he's going to. He will take a podium. I'm almost certain of it. I think Mike can still get a podium.
Oh, not if he does that out at the Dunlop curve, though. Craggy is also trying to see if he can get a move done on Mike going through these two degners. Mike is really struggling going through those two degners. You see, he's just drifting everywhere. I won't be surprised if we even see Craggy maybe go for a move in towards the hairpin.
He's got to.
He's not. He stayed behind him for now, though. Kieran and Lakitu and Marco are all there. Kieran was going to try and get a better traction out of that corner, but not going to be able to do so. Has to stay behind. Craggy's going to use that overtake, though. He wants to go for the move on Mike in towards Spoon Curve. Mike probably going to back off of this one. He certainly is. Happy just containing P2 for now. Kieran, though, going to try and go for it down the inside in towards Spoon Curve. The exit of that. Mike, the Boatman's going to try and hold on. They're both side by side now. The Red Bull versus the RB as they make their way in towards 130R. Kieran's going to hold the inside. Mike's going to hold the outside. Kieran
this is not
going to
be
able to get that move done. And Mike is just going to back off of that one. But now he's got Lakitu and got Marco behind him. Mike tries not to go into the back of Kieran. Doesn't, well, has a slight little tap on there. But yeah, I think there was a bit of front wing that just went off of someone as well.
Oh, I wonder who it is. Well, with 10-second penalty.
Marco getting a front wing damage. So that's him. Well, I say out of contention. We've got 3 laps left.
Oh, a double overtake. No, Mike's.
Oh, I thought he was going to go for it.
I think he's got to go for it. Go for it. Lakitu round the outside. Yeah, he's got it. I think we're going to have an Aston Martin 1-2 here. I'm calling it right now. Yeah, I think we are. As on that 25 and 27, literally could be anyone's game. As Craggy's made a mistake, your biggest good surprise could come into fruition here. As Kieran, could he take the race lead?
He very well could. Craggy is really struggling on these older intermediate tyres. As like you say, they're going to have a bit more deg on them in comparison to the likes of Kieran and Lakitu. Kieran eyeing up a move on Craggy in towards the hairpin. Not going to go for anything at the moment. I say 3 more laps left to go. Mike picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that's just hindered him even more. Callum and Arm gets the move done, and Senna now all over the back of him, and Senna gets a better traction out of that. So Mike, I don't know what happened to him, but it's Kieran now trying to go around the outside to have the inside for Spoon Curve on Craggy. Both wheel banging with each other. Kieran has that move done. Craggy tried to hold on as much as possible, but Kieran is now into the race lead. He's got the 2 Aston Martins behind him. We're seeing a repeat of what we saw in the real life Suzuka, the 2 Aston Martins instead of the 2 McLarens behind the Red Bull, and Kieran now needs to try and fend off those 2 Aston Martins for these last 2 laps as Mike now just dropping places now down
what has happened to his internet there? It's like he's gone into space or something. But there we go. Shame about Mike, but he did say to me he was struggling in the wet. And to be fair, I was struggling in the wet too. So I could see where he was coming from there. We got our hopes up. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But he's still going to, I think, get some points because everyone else around him has either got 3 more second penalties there. So we'll see, of course. No more safety cars, though. So lap 26 or 27. Craggy, I think, is going to find things even more tricky because he's drifting everywhere. Hopefully he's put enough fuel in his car. I pray to God that he's got enough fuel in his car, because otherwise Senna could go back into this. Nick's got past Iverbrin Mike up into 9th. He could climb, I think, 1 place from this as well because he's got Entity for company now, and Nick's not doing too bad on the set of those intermediate tyres, which is probably a good thing because he hasn't had that much time to practice because he's been at work all day. But penultimate lap, we're starting to see the ones who made the gamble on the Inters really early on. It's not working for them, but look at Kieran, 1.5 seconds over Craggy. I think as long as Kieran doesn't bottle it, he's got this race win in the bag.
I think he does as well. So Marco, again, that wing damage, it's hindering him a bit because I think he wants to go for this move on Lakitu, but that wing damage is just not allowing him to do so. He's now got Callum and Arms all over the back of him. They're both using their overtake. Callum Arms actually going to try and go for the inside in towards 130R. Surely not in the intermediate conditions. He certainly does. And Marco goes out wide out of 130R. Callum and Arms is now going to be able to go around the inside. There's a bit of contact between them. Marco just moves over to the left-hand side. Not smart from the fin. And it's now him dropping down the order. And we're now on to the final lap of the race. Senna has now moved himself up into 4th position. So all of that battling going on. Senna started down in 12th. He's now up into 4th position. So very
What a
well done
race
from
for
him. Massive
Senna.
damage limitation. Yeah, massive damage limitation from him in that.
He likes it. I think he must have been saving his pace for the intermediate conditions. He's liking the intermediate conditions. I think he doesn't mind it at all, and he's doing a decent job just to close in. And all of this fighting is allowing Kieran to. We're going to see another race winner of the season, which I think is quite incredible. We thought Craggy was going to win, but I think him. If he pitted at the same time as everybody else, he would have, won this race comfortably. But he made that gamble, did not work, and unfortunately he's paying the price right now as we head towards, well, Kieran heads towards the hairpin now. Just look at the gap that Kieran's falling. 3.5 seconds as we've got a yellow flag. That is Curry that's binned it in Dunlop, which is unfortunate. He's not going to get any points, unfortunately, which is a huge shame. But here we go then. Take us through, Jack, the final moment of this race. Kieran is on his way to his first win of the season.
He certainly is, but Lakitu all over the back of his teammate. Craggy really struggling coming out of Spoon Curve. 4.2 seconds now separates the first and second. Senna still seeing if he can maybe go for a move on one of those two Aston Martins out in front. He wants to try and get this move done. Don't think he's going to be able to do so. He tries to look down the inside. Nothing going to happen with that one. Kieran, though, he has perfected that strategy. He's made it work. He comes across the line to take his first race win of the season in P1. Craggy comes home to finish in second. Lakitu in third. Senna, as I say, starting all the way down in, I think it was about 11th or 12th position, ends up fourth in the end. Axlock in fifth. Callum and Arndt in sixth, with Nick in seventh, Entity in eighth, Lukey in ninth, Ira and Mike. What was a blinder of a strategy, just unfortunate the tyres must have given up on him to finish in 10th. Ricardo in 11th and Marco in 12th. Malvin just DNF just before the line. So he is not going to have, or not going to be classified, and will end up finishing in 14th. But yeah, it was such a good strategy from both Craigie and Mike, and very unfortunate that the tyres just did not hold on. In-game driver of the day since it's either been Mike, but I have definitely got my pick for a driver of the day in this one, and I suppose you probably won't be surprised at who it is.
Yes.
But yeah,
Kieran?
what a result that was for Kieran. What a result that was.
Yeah, I think I agree on that one. I'll let you think of a question in a minute, which gives me enough time to pick my driver of the day as well. But I think you won't be surprised with who I would go for as well after his blind on the intermediate conditions. So here we go then. Your results then. Provisional results, of course, because we still got the stewards. We got Kieran from Craggy, Lakitu, Senna, Atslot, Calamanarm, Nick, NC, Lukey. I've been Mike, your top 10. Fastest lap does belong to Lakitu inside the top 10. And we got Ricardo, Marco, Curry, and Malvin. Your fastest lap outside the top 10 does belong to Marco. But unfortunately, what could have been for him after he did so well in the dry conditions. And we've had four timers: Casper, Jason, Jonas, and Furious. Furious, unfortunately, has had a real problem. Jack, Kieran is your driver of the day. What would you all like to ask our race winner?
You don't know he's going to be my driver of the day. No, he definitely is. Kieran, definitely driver of the day. Question for him. At that safety car, was you expecting to win that race, especially when that rain came down? And, well, just a congratulations for taking his first race win for this season.
Yep, indeed, which will help him, I think, in the team criteria at least as well. I'm going to go for someone who looked like he was struggling for the first half of the race, but he did so well. He started 10th, went all the way to 4th. I have to go to Senna. It was all a damage limitation race for Senna. And my question is, were you expecting for you to finish close to the podium after an awful qualifying session from yourself on the intermediate tyres? So that is my question. Probably a lot of you won't be surprised that I've gone for Senna because he's climbed up quite a bit and he didn't seem to make that many mistakes as well. So there we go. That was a race and a half. We thought that the rain wasn't going to come because people pitted for hards, and then the rain did come. I don't think any of the drivers knew what they were going to do, and that just made the race even more exciting for us in the commentary box.
Yeah, it certainly did, and I always do love it when a bit of rain does arrive. I think it definitely makes it a lot more interesting because then we see who is the ones that are better in the wet in comparison to the ones that are better in the dry. So Yeah, I'm a fan of when it does rain. Bring us more heavens, please, rain.
It's
More,
all
because it
up to
just
the
makes it a
wheel,
lot more
Jaco.
interesting.
It's all up to the
All
wheel.
right, can the heavens of the wheel please give us more rain?
You just send vibes to me because I have to do it every week. But yeah, my reaction when I saw rain, I was just going. But there we go. So that was that one. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of the last few rounds. We've got 4 more rounds to go. Next week, we go to the Bahrain, Secure International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's going to start slightly later. It's going to start an hour later because, of course, the real-life Grand Prix starts at 4 o'clock. If we start at the usual time at 5 and 7 o'clock, the P2 tier would definitely not want to be racing whilst the real-life people are racing. So P2 is going to be starting at 6 o'clock. P1 is going to be starting at 8 o'clock. So that means it gives, I think, more people a chance to just watch the race instead of practicing all the time. But Bahrain International Circuit, with the adaptive weather system, you never know, it could rain in Bahrain, so they got to expect the unexpected.
Certainly could. Bahrain is there for the reason. We'll see if it does end up raining around.
I hope not.
I would love to see that. I'm not going to lie. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of people won't want to see it. As a commentator, I would love to see it. But as a driver, no. So let's hope people have got wet setups in mind just in case, but you never know. It's all up to the wheel of fate at the end of the day. Then after Bahrain, of course, we've got the Easter break, and then we'll be back on the 27th of April. So let's a final look of our sponsors. Thank you to, of course, SimGrid, Pure Sim Gear, Next Level Racing, Vespertine, and Mental Health Foundation. Without you guys, the league would not happen. We're going to head off now. We will see you not same time. We'll see you at 8 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, for the Bahrain Grand Prix in the P1 tier after, obviously, the real-life drivers have done theirs. Who's going to do well? Is Craggy going to try? And he's got to extend his lead. Can he extend it even more? Or could Senna bounce back? We're going to have to find out. For myself and Jack, we will see you next week at 8 o'clock. Don't turn up at 7 o'clock because we're not going to be there. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.